Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. What I'll do today, right? I'm not going to talk about data cloud functionality as such. So as you can see from my screen, data cloud versus Snowflake. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this video, right? So not every company, right, wanted to use the data cloud, and what really frustrated me lately, right? Uh, I mean, first of all, a disclaimer. I just wanted to say that look, I am not anti Salesforce, right? Because if you have known me for years, I teach people Salesforce, right, and to build stuff on Salesforce in the right way. But that being said, lately, Salesforce has been really frustrating me because of the aggressive data cloud marketing strategy. Everything they wanted to do, oh, okay, data cloud is the solution. Data cloud is the solution. And their architects, right, especially, it's really annoying me to the core. They're more acting like the sales agents more than a advocate of what business actually need, right? Because that's the biggest problem and biggest frustration I've noticed. I'm wearing enterprise architecture hat today, architect hat. So imagine you are a business, right? And you are using Salesforce org for do a lot of things, and you have a data coming in from different sources, and those things are, let's say, you manage using Snowflake. Now you must be wondering, what is Snowflake, right? Now obviously Snowflake is data warehousing tool on the cloud. You might have heard about data warehousing products like Teradata. Even Oracle has their own stuff, right? I remember Teradata when it was a part of NCR, that's the National Cache Register. Then they split out, separate, and decide to do their own thing, right? Teradata is still they're still there, right? They still do things on the data warehousing side. Snowflake is quite popular, right? Now, if your company, right, has Snowflake as a data warehousing tool, and you have a data coming in, and you have uh, data people like data architect, data engineers who could look after Snowflake quite well, then the question you should be asking: do you really need Salesforce Data Cloud? Salesforce will tell you, look, this is there, that's there. You want this, you want that, right? Mm. Let's look at a pragmatic way, like, because most of the architects, right? If you are an architect, your role, your job, is to be pragmatic about a solution and focus on the outcomes which your business is interested, rather than being a tech architect or a vendor architect, right? Because obviously, if you're an architect, you shouldn't be acting like you're on a payroll of a vendor, right? You might have a tool preferences, which is fine. You might have a language preferences, which is fine, but that should not affect the outcome your business trying to achieve, right? That should be the main goal of an architect. The business outcome a business want to achieve, and technology comes later, right? It's just an enabler of the business outcome. So it could be any tool. So if you have a Snowflake in place and Salesforce in place, you should be asking, can I leverage Snowflake? Now, if you go and ask the Salesforce architect to say, no, in Salesforce Data Cloud, we have data ingestion, we have data modeling, we have identity resolution, we have segmentation. Can Snowflake do all of this? That's the question they ask. Okay, so let's look at it, right? So you talk about data ingestion. Now, obviously, Salesforce Data Cloud does data ingestion, right? Even if you have seen from my tutorial that it is very capable. You have connectors to marketing clouds. You can ingest the data from APIs and other stuff. Now, in Snowflake, you can do that, right? In Snowflake, you have Snowpipe, you have Kafka integrations. You can do real time and batch ingestion with the Snowpipe and Kafka. So that's pretty much possible, right? I have seen that's happening, right? You can bring the data in from different sources, right? Now, you must be wondering, okay, so what about from a Salesforce org? Obviously, Salesforce Data Cloud can connect um, directly to Snowflake um, and bring the data in. What about the Snowflake or Snow? Or sorry, let me take a step back, right? Because I think I jumped ahead too far. Salesforce Data Cloud can bring data from different Salesforce org, right? Which is pretty cool. I've demonstrated how to do that. Now, the Salesforce architect might say, "Hey, can Salesforce Snowflake do that?" Absolutely, you can. There is a connector called Omnada, right? Omnada connector, which costs like $10 or $20 per license, per day license, or something. I don't know the exact figure, but just check it out if you're interested. You could do bi-directional data sync, and it's very powerful tool, right? So that argument saying you can do data ingestion only on Salesforce Data Cloud, that's total bullshit to me, right? So next, data modeling, right? Obviously, Salesforce is very capable, and declarative data model is there using Data Cloud, and I've demonstrated that. It's pretty flexible. In Snowflake, you have something called DBT. Then there are Snowflake data modeling native tool. You have something called Snowpark. You can also do custom, data modeling, right? It's all possible. You can also build or plug in probabilistic and deterministic identity resolution as well in Snowflake. A lot of things you can do. Okay, now it comes to the identity resolution. Since I touched upon that topic, um, obviously Salesforce Data Cloud is powerful, so you can do built-in identity matching and unification process, right, using their built-in engine, right? Now, Snowflake, you could do that as well. There's something called, excuse me, Snowflake Cortex. You could also there's a high touch ID resolution you can do. You can do something similar like in Snowflake if you really wanted to do that. It's possible, right? It is not to say that Snowflake don't have its own challenge. If you have a skilled team who understands Snowflake very well, you could achieve that easily in Snowflake. Now, segmentation and activation, obviously, you could do that in Data Cloud, and pretty much you could do that in Snowflake as well. There is no question. And Salesforce always says that, look, it's very easy to use. The product is friendly. It's UI friendly. Yes, it is easy. You can do a lot of things using point and click, right? You don't really need to hire a data scientist. The same goes for the Snowflake. You just need to know how to write a query, which is you can hire a data engineer. Right? You really don't need to hire a data scientist, right? You can do a lot of things there as well. And obviously, Snowflake has simple UI, and you can also build some low-code dashboards if you want. It's also possible to do that. And so now you must be wondering, right? So, okay, so let me scroll down. So, my apologies. This is an article from Mark Cloud Consulting, right? So, I need to give credit. It's not my article. So, I just, the reason why I bring this up. So, because of this title, that's pretty much it. Uh, so, that's all the reason why I wanted to bring this up to show this is what I'm talking about, right? There's nothing else I wanted to talk about from this article. Now, the one of the biggest issue with the data cloud, right, is expensive. It's extremely expensive, right? Now, your Salesforce account executive will say, "Oh, look, you have enterprise license, you have this license, so it's going to cost you this." And so my question is, if you're using Snowflake, right, if you're an enterprise architect, it's your responsibility to make sure not to fall into the vendor pitch narrative, right? You should be investigating that first of all the quality of the people you have and how easy to implement, right? Just because Salesforce says, go and buy the Salesforce Data Cloud, this customer does that. Have you seen Salesforce demo? They always shows you the simplified demo, right? They never talk about complicated edge case scenarios, right? Which I believe needs more effort to do that. I'm not saying you can't do that, right? Obviously, you can do a lot of things. The same goes with the Snowflake, right? You can do a lot of things with Snowflake. The edge case scenarios, it can look after it. So if you have a Snowflake license, if you're using Snowflake, and I honestly think you should be looking at Snowflake extension, whether you can leverage you based on your business requirement, right? It might be a case where Snowflake may not work for you, right? But you should not jump to a conclusion that, hey, Snowflake is not a really great solution. I wanted to use Salesforce Data Cloud, asking business to spend millions. That's not really a great architecture, right? That's a very poor strategic uh, uh, outcome you're trying to achieve, right? So that's one of the role of an architect, right? To do what is good for the business, what is good for the business you are associated with, and understand the pain points of the business people, right, or the stakeholders, or and your customer, and recommend a solution which is valuable, right? Just because the problem, sorry, I'm gonna go for a rant again. My apologies. I promise won't last more than 15 seconds, 20 seconds, right? The problem is that, right, people are associating more with the vendor, and they just hook up with the tool, and they love the tool, and they just talk only what the vendor has to say, right? So you acting like a foot soldier for the vendor, not really an independent architect, right? Who's doing what's good for the business. So that's the problem I have. And I'm saying this as a Salesforce architect, right? I'm not a Snowflake architect. I can do things on Snowflake, but I'm not a Snowflake architect. So yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in this episode. So hope this is an informative session for you, because if you wanted to consider using Salesforce Data Cloud, just think about other aspects you have in your business, right? Before you go and buy this. That's all I'm trying to say. So have a great Sunday. Adios.